Episode 112 of Five Drinks Through Midnight. The show, we bring the questions, guests bring the drinks. We try to wrap up before midnight. Today, we are talking to the co-founder of Hoste, Robby Haynes. But before we do, like, subscribe, leave a comment. It really help us out. Let's get started. Bam. Robby, thank you so much for joining us. Five Drinks or Midnight, five drinks, five questions. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Been looking forward to this all week.
Excellent. Me too. I'm so excited. I mean, it's been probably, about a year in the making, but this is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited, and thank you so much for joining us, and also thank you so much for the lovely sample. So let's just jump right into it. What are we drinking first?
Let's start with the Gold Fashioned.
Excellent.
And I can tell you a little bit more about it. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. For anybody out there watching, like I was telling Tim, I'm sitting on R&D bottles, things like that at the house. So Tim's got the pretty bottles. And yeah, really excited about how this year's blend turned out. So we've done this this will be our third year in a row making the Gold Fashioned. So you've got it poured over ice.
Yes, sir.
So I think the next most important step is to garnish it. I think folks will kind of put this together as we go along, but the Gold Fashioned is a ready to pour, ready to enjoy cocktail. And a great cocktail should engage all the senses. That's something that I really believe. And so each bottle comes with an orange zest atomizer.
Bam.
Boom. There it is.
So freaking cool. It's so awesome. Like, this is just such a cool experience. Like, this is just so fucking awesome. Like, it just, honestly, like.
Yep. If it's fresh, you might got to prime it a couple times.
There we go. Yep.
I'll do the same thing. Boom. And yeah, so the atomizer, that's blood orange Valencia and navel orange zest in the atomizer. So now you've got fresh orange aroma that's going to lead you into a luxurious Old Fashioned.
Cheers.
So, cheers, bud.
Mm. Oh, it's so fucking good. That is amazing. Oh.
Thank you.
I mean, I have so many questions about this, but we'll save that for question two, because question one is always the same. And again, you have this is like a two-part question, because our questions are always about how'd you get started. So it's your origin story. But you have one of the most amazing origin stories. So question one is, how'd you get started in the hospitality business? And then two, how did that transfer over into products and everything?
So, yep, like a lot of people, I kind of fell into hospitality. I had moved to Chicago when I was 20 or 21 to play music and live in a big city and have fun. And the bar world was calling me. And I kind of lucked my way into an opening position as a barback at the Violet Hour.
Excellent.
And this was at the kind of the resurgence of the cocktail movement, and this would have been 2006-ish. And I was really fortunate, man. I knew nothing when I started, and I got to work with some really what I would consider thought leaders in the space. Notably Toby Maloney, who is going on to do great things. He just got a James Beard Award
Beard,
for his
yep.
wonderful book. And I just soaked it up like a sponge, and spent a number of years there. And through the program there, I got, handed down some responsibility, making things like bitters and syrups, which I, to my surprise, really enjoyed. I loved the process of taking, using alcohol to extract interesting flavors from roots, herbs, barks, fruit, botanicals, and blending them in ways to create kind of a narrative on the palate. And that was when I first got interested in the production side of things, and I started tinkering around in the back on my time off, playing around, making some early stabs at liqueurs. And um, a friend of mine, serendipitously, had just launched a distillery in Chicago called Leatherby, and I had developed a recipe for a bitter wormwood liqueur, that was, really intense, impactful, but fun. And he, Brent, Engel, really went on a limb. I gave him a call. I was like, hey, I got a recipe. I know how to make this thing on a small scale in a 5-gallon bucket, but I think we might be able to do something with it. And he was game, and that was kind of when I first kind of started to transition to the maker side. And since then have gone on to went on to launch, co-found Apolog Liqueurs, kind of taking those same ideas and making, all natural liqueurs featuring kind of unique regional ingredients, things like saffron, pawpaw, celery root, persimmon. And life was good for a long time. Like, we Apolog launched. This would have been 7 or 8 years ago now,
Okay.
and very much focused on. I had since moved on from the Violet Hour, had done a few other things in the hospitality space, and Apolog was very focused on on-premise bars and restaurants. And when the pandemic happened and all the bars and restaurants closed, that's when I started to get interested in the at-home consumer, the retail space. And love cocktails, but going into 2020, 2021, the RTD movement was just kind of beginning to
Yep.
explode, and there was a wide range of quality on the RTD spectrum, and a lot of it is down here on the lower tier. And there's a few things that kind of like get up to like using like bespoke ingredients or like
And,
really high quality inputs.
and then there's you
And
guys. Like there's like, yeah, the canned cocktail, everything tastes like metal kind of crap. And then there's like that. But then there's you. Because, I mean, come on, let's be honest. Like, this is fucking gorgeous. Like, this is top of the line. Like, this is,
yeah,
like, you could say that you're high end, but like, that could be like Mercedes. But like, this is like, I mean, this
yeah,
is like fucking, like,
it's
Lamborghini style. Like, this is fucking awesome. And not getting paid to say that at all. This is really fucking good. Like,
yeah. I think what we took, just I think a different approach. We just came at it from a different angle than I think a lot of other, um, manufacturers or brands were. There's really challenging to compete at the lower price tier. Just the unit economics for a small business are not great down there, and then also you want to make something that you feel proud of and that you can show up, to your friends and fam with. And so we said, hey, let's go. There's a lot of competition down here. Let's make the nicest thing we can, like with the nicest ingredients, nicest spirits, nicest botanicals that we can get, and let's package it beautifully, and focus more on, kind of gathering, gifting, like meaningful moments where someone might want to pour a cocktail for folks.
yeah. Well, you talk a lot about your ethos in bartending, and I think that even carried over where you talk about finding your customer's love language, or being at a bar is like a spa experience. So like when you were making a cocktail, it was like coming to a spa experience. And I think you guys definitely carried it over. I mean, even to the little atomizer, like just doing a little spritz of that, and even making it a blood orange and not just a regular orange citrus. Like there's that idea of just bringing that level up to a little. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, I mean, just
Yeah.
your ethos on that. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I love bars, and I like all types of bars, and I like so many things about them, from a nice entryway. It really starts in the neighborhood. Like
yeah,
there's a whole experience with going to a bar. You're greeted, you're set in a nice chair, you get the napkin, the menu, all of these like sensory experiences that kind of culminate together in your total perception of the evening. And you know with a packaged cocktail, we wanted to bring some of those elements in to the home. And so, like, it's it starts with the box. The box is textured, it's embossed and debossed, so you're kind of like already starting to stimulate the senses just when someone
grabs
touches the
touches it.
box.
Yeah, yeah,
And then just trying to create a thoughtful um, unboxing experience for folks. Like, if I go back to the Violet Hour, what one thing that I think really I I took from that space was, people would enter through a narrow. They go in what looks like a dilapidated building. They enter through a narrow corridor that is also like not, you know, um, what you would consider like very well decorated. It's like dilapidated corridor, but then
yeah,
you open a corner and you open the curtains, and you're in a giant, beautiful
beautiful.
room.
Yep.
And so just that, like, that kind of like that idea of like a reveal. And so we've tried to just telegraph that idea into the packaging and to the bottle, so that it is an experience for folks, and it's something that they can enjoy with their friends, and then they can talk about it, and I think they will remember, like, oh, remember when we drank that Host cocktail?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was really cool. um, and yeah, so just trying to be like really thoughtful every step of the way, and looking at everything from, like, the texture of the paper to like the box that the atomizer comes in. And then that's not even to mention like the spirits that are in the bottle, and what goes into the bottle itself.
I think your whole origin story and like the way that like classifying something as a love language, it really like resonated with me because again, like going into like you brought that bar experience home, like that idea of like is, and again, you made it almost idiot proof that like all I have to do is add ice, pour the drink, and hit a little spritz, and I have a drink and I'm ready to rock. Like that is just so amazing. And like the level of quality that you have is just absolutely freaking amazing. So like that is, I know I sound like a
uh,
little fanboy and
no,
like, but it just I was blown away at batch one, and now tasting even, or I guess this is batch three now, right? Like
yeah.
that's what, yeah. Even tasting that, like it just is so freaking amazing. Like this is so damn cool. Like I
um,
just
that was a big takeaway. When we did the first run of Gold Fashion. So it's always been a limited offering. We'd make 3 to 5 thousand bottles. It seems like, depending on what kind of juice we can get. But we sold through the first year, we sold through the second year, and then we spent a lot of time. We saw a lot of people would order multiple bottles, and we reached out to quite a few of them to understand, just, hey, like, how are you using it? We appreciate that you were buying it, but we want to understand, like, how you are using it and what is it doing for you. And a lot of the people echoed a similar sentiment. They're like, it tastes very good. We love it, but it's an experience that, like,
yeah.
my partner and I, who now live outside of X major city, we're able to have like a kind of a world class cocktail experience at our home. And we don't have to hire a babysitter, and we feel like special and taken care of, and it allows us to kind of have a really nice night together. And so yeah, we've tried to lean into that.
If you're cool, you mind if we just do a second pour of this and jump into question 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
That's
right,
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, question 2, drink 2. We're just gonna do a second pour of this because we got some more questions to really jump into.
Get my zest here. I feel like I've probably done this zest 1,000 times, maybe more. And my technique is always evolving. I recommend people, I feel like, people start like this, which I think is nice, but I do like a kind of a
top down or an airplane,
yeah,
or like
I kind of like shoot. I like it. I kind of catch it.
Shoot and catch. All right, I like it.
Yeah, it's like I would like when we were, when I was making a lot of old fashions a la minute single serving. I would nerd out even on like, the orange peel. Like sometimes I would hold it really close to the cocktail, but after a while I found that like, certain oranges got a lot of oil on it. I would hold it pretty far up and just to, control that element a little more. And then I would even wipe the orange peel to get the residual oil off before putting it in there. So yeah, I think like, with a little bit of an aside, but I think like a great cocktail is all about the little details, like every single bit of minutia, from how this you hold the spoon to like how long you stir it to whether you hold the glass like this and your hands heating it up or you just touch the base.
Yeah. Well, again, that goes like to the whole thing. Like, again, it's blown my mind. Like the class, like being a bartender and you saying knowing my customers' love language, like how they love their drink. Like our very first episode was with one of my favorite bartenders. Her name is Kristen Mary, and she, like, I walk into the bar, and even by the time I'm like sitting down at my usual spot, like there's that drink waiting. She knows exactly how I want my old fashioned, and it is perfect every time. And like that for a bartender to know that, and like for you guys going this way, and I guess like question 1 is what goes in, or question 2 is what goes into making this, because I know like you guys take like a very unique perspective on how you make this, because when you do a split old fashioned, which is the way I like it, so you do a bourbon rye split, but almost you do like a 3 bourbon split or a 2 bourbon 1 rye split. Can you talk about like why you went that way and like all like the makeup of the gold fashioned, if you could please?
Yep. So every year, so we've changed the spirits, the vintage whiskey base blend, and so when we released last year's in that would have been like October, November last year, we immediately started looking for barrels for this year, and the vintage whiskey market is a little crazy. And so, we sampled probably 20 to 30 different whiskeys. For me, it has to be something of like with meaningful age to it. And this year we found a really great 10-year rye, and that was kind of the anchor for this year's blend. And then we pair that with a 8-year bourbon and a 7-year rye, and so we have a split vintage whiskey blend where you're kind of getting the best of all worlds there, like nice spice from the rye, some I would say sweetness from the bourbon, but it's not sweet, you know what I mean? Like just that kind of like caramel vanilla thing happening. And then we just kind of push the ratios around to see what pops. And so basically we make it's like making one massive cocktail in steps. So, we basically, once we figure out our spirits ratio, we dump all the barrels in a giant stainless tank and then slowly proof that down to 90 proof, tasting along the way, adjusting if needed. And then, so now we have basically a giant, what I think of as a giant bottle of whiskey, enough to make, 4,000 bottles of cocktail, which would be about 40,000 cocktails. Yeah. And then we make Demerara syrup. We used fair trade Demerara's sugar from Malawi. It's really important for us to source the tertiary ingredients from the country of origin. And then we make bitters. And, old fashioned is it's spirits, bitters, sugar, water.
Yep.
And there's a little room to play within each of those. Obviously, with the spirits, we've done a split base. But with the bitters, I feel like that was kind of our chance to put a unique thumbprint on it and kind of harken back to my time at Violet Hour in the bitters closet, making bitters. We made a saffron bitters and, using, what we would consider the world's most exquisite spices from the country of origin. Saffron from Afghanistan, grade A Tahitian vanilla, single estate, high elevation Ecuadorian cacao, French gentian from the French Alps, and Seville orange peel from Seville, Spain. So we make a really beautiful saffron bitters, and then it's time to make the cocktail. And instead of making it in a mixing glass, I'm using a giant stainless tank. We make a massive old fashioned, and just like if I was making a cocktail for you, like build it, taste it, and then tweak it. Do I feel like this needs a little bit more spice? Maybe I'll add a little more rye to it. If I feel like not getting enough bitters for it, I'll add another dash of bitters. But in this instance, a dash is like,
a bucket.
Yeah, a dash of whiskey in this cocktail is 1 to 2 to maybe 3 5-gallon buckets of whiskey. But it's at that point, and that part is to taste. And I feel like a good cocktail, it's you start with a recipe, and then you got to play putt to get it in the hole.
Yeah.
And you got to just kind of go with your gut. It's one thing to be working on the scale of one cocktail and you're doing it in a glass, and if it's not good, I can toss it out.
Yep.
So with something like this, the stakes are higher.
Building something that big, I mean, again, I guess this is where your bartending experience comes in, because if something's off, you know how to fix it. So, but would you say like this is how you like your old fashioned?
Yeah, that's kind of the profile. I feel like with an old fashioned in particular, because there are so few inputs, there's a little window where everything kind of, the focus should always be on the base spirit. I feel like an old fashioned to me is an idealized preparation of the base spirit. So I never want to lose sight of that, and everything else should just like complement it or underscore it or accent something that's in the whiskey. So really about keeping the focus on the base spirit and then using the other ingredients to make it shine.
So when you guys go to pick barrels, is there a certain flavor profile that you're looking for, or is it whatever the barrel kind of comes to you and then you kind of adjust the old fashioned to make that? Or are you more like, no, I have my old fashioned in mind and we pick the barrels, or I know how to make this barrel into what my old fashioned should be?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I look at is the age statement.
Okay.
Right. Like that's age statement and then origin. And like, okay, is it, we wouldn't taste anything that was under 6 years.
Okay.
And then, once we find something that's 6 years, we look at where it comes from, and then taste it. And, I think with this, we had a buddy of mine, Charlie Nelson, who used to be at Nelson Greenbrier, who I believe has left recently. I think I read that
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think I read that too.
He actually pointed us in the direction of this older rye, which was very, very cool of him. So Charlie, I don't know if you will see this, but shout out, thank you. And so for this one, the 10-year rye was like spice forward, a little bit of like fruitiness, but like just kind of assertive rye. And then so we were looking to complement that. That was for this year's release. That was kind of like the
Okay.
showpiece. And then we were looking for a kind of softer but younger rye to complement, and then obviously the bourbon to kind of round things out and add some low end to it.
So then, like you said, like this is version 3. Do you guys plan on doing like different batches every year, or is it just till we sell out, or are you already working on like version 5 and 6 already? Like you're already like got it already cooking in the tank.
We are thinking about versions 5, 6, 7, 8, and
All
beyond.
right.
And so like one thought is that maybe we can find some a lot of younger barrels and age them up, to hit that 6, 7, 8, 9 year age. But still, I think at least next year we are probably still scouring the vintage whiskey market to see what's available. That's what we're looking at stuff now.
Nice.
It never stops. But we are kind of, I think now that we know that, knock on wood, we'll be doing this for some time, we are, kind of future forward looking to take, it just gets a little hectic, man. It's a little stressful every year trying to find good barrels.
No.
And not knowing what you're going to,
But again, I mean, you're living my dream job. You're like going out and finding the perfect whiskey to make an old fashioned. I mean, that's so fucking awesome. Like that's like dream job material right there. So, sucks to be you, but also awesome.
It's a dream job until like next, come March, April, when you're like, oh man, we got to pull the trigger on something.
Yeah. All right. So, question 3, drink 3. What are we drinking?
All right. So this is going to be Hoste. This is Hoste Cocktails. Beautiful. And so on this one, you can see the artwork in the back. And the Gold Fashioned, once you get down there, you will see artwork coming through too. But this is our Martini. This was done in collaboration with a really talented bartender, author, entrepreneur out of Chicago, Julia Momose. They have a bar called Bar Kumiko, which is, on very high up on every list that comes out as far as cocktail bars go, and rightfully so. It's a Japanese-inspired cocktail bar. She is awesome, and this is our first collaboration, and I think we'll continue with each additional release to collaborate with another bartender. But for this Martini, we built a gin from the ground up.
Wow. Okay.
Which was fun. I got to break out the test still, and Julia picked ingredients inspired by the seasons in Japan, which is where she's from. So there's sakura blossom or cherry blossom. There's hojicha, so roasted green tea. There's yuzu. There's red sancho, so like peppercorns. Kabosu, which is a Japanese citrus similar to lemon. And then some traditional gin botanicals. And we did maybe 10, 15 iterations on just a 5-gallon pot still, just trying to, one, understand how those ingredients all work together, and figure out how to push a couple of them forward to make it shine. And then for the vermouth, we partnered with a guy actually out of New York, a gentleman named Will Clark from Little City Vermouth.
Okay.
And they make vermouth. They source wine from the Finger Lakes region. And, we spent a lot of time looking for vermouth. We wanted to work with someone in the States. And I love I love domestic vermouth. You know, they're typically more esoteric than your traditional vermouths, and we wanted something. I felt like Little Cities Vermouth was struck a nice balance between being like, you know, forward thinking, but also rooted in tradition. And so we worked with him to develop a custom vermouth blend.
Okay.
And so this is essentially a 4-to-1 martini with our gin, which we scaled up and worked with a gentleman named Ari Clafter from Thornton Distilling Company to like take our test test still batch and bring it to life in a big way. And yeah, really excited with how this came out. And each bottle comes with a yuzu zest atomizer.
Yep.
Which I should do. Yep.
So
there you go.
Do you do the same shoot and catch?
Always.
All right.
Yeah. Always.
Love
Let's
it.
try it. There you go.
Oh, yeah. And you recommend just over just a nice rock, right? Like that's how you like the.
So I like it on a rock. It dilutes a little bit over time. You know, I feel like a cocktail has a, you know, beginning to end, a cocktail is like a little bit of a journey as far as like how it evolves. And with cocktails that are traditionally served up, like a Manhattan, you know, in a bar setting, you know, it kind of forces you to drink it a little faster. But I think ultimately, like a more enjoyable ride is having your cocktail dilute slowly over time, as opposed to getting hotter and warmer.
Sure.
So yeah, I like it on a cube, and yeah, I've done a couple of events now, maybe 3 or 4 with both products, which have been just always just wild to see how people respond in real time. And I've been really, you know, I kind of know how people think about the Gold Fashioned, can kind of anticipate what most people's response to that is going to be. But the Martini has been interesting. I'm just surprised at how many people have an affinity for martinis. Yeah. And I like it. Pouring it over ice makes it reads a little more like refreshing for something that is gin and vermouth and uses us.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Oh, that's nice. That's really fucking good.
Yeah, jams, man.
Oh.
This took a lot of tinkering. It really did. Not everything, you know, some things come together pretty easy and naturally. Like I feel like with the Gold Fashioned, it's a cocktail that I know it kind of inside and out intimately. Martinis, yes, have made many, but this was it's a real balancing act with the vermouth and the gin. You know, we talk about playing putt-putt, you know, with a cocktail.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the Martini, the hole is the size of the ball.
Yeah.
No bigger. And so you really got to get that. You really got to nail it. And
no, well, that's like you took 2 of the most like, I don't want to say complicated cocktails because on paper, like they're both very simple, but no, like a lot of people can fuck them up rather quickly. But like, again, you took like the 2 main like cocktails that people have like certain real, like, this is how I like my old fashioned, or this is how I like my martini, where like, I mean, even like Churchill was like, you know, I want just, you know, cold gin and my, like, I want to look at the vermouth bottle. Like that was kind of like the thing. And like, but like you're, oh, this is just, and again, you guys went like with a whole like Japanese kind of thing with it, which is absolutely fucking amazing. Like this is just, it's so damn good. Like it just, oh.
Yeah, I feel like these 2 cocktails in particular, there's nowhere to really hide. Yeah. Like you make a tiki drink, and tiki drinks are their own special balancing act. But you have like some lengtheners and things that you can kind of like, you know, maybe don't always have to use the nicest rum, though you should. But like I feel like with Martini and Old Fashioned, like yeah, you're naked.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, and like even to the point like now, like. You guys went and fucking made your own gin? Like, that's so fucking amazing. Like, that is... Oh.
Love it.
But all right, so question 3.
Yep.
What's the biggest unexpected hurdle that you encountered with jumping into like the RTD movement?
I guess I have two. One is with Hoste,
Okay.
because I feel like that's probably the most relevant. It's just uh, all the packaging components and dealing with the vendors. Like, every little item comes from someone else, and they all have to fit together. This year, we've learned a lot, and we've learned a lot the hard way. But in the second year, I think this is the second year, the last year's release, the previous bottle you held up. The An example is the company that manufactured the T tops.
Okay.
They were a 16th of an inch too tall.
Oh shit.
A 16th of an inch.
Just
Not much.
just a,
Just enough to fuck everything up. From the way the box, so the the packaging and all the elements, and then with like supply chain stuff. Really fortunate. My business partner Jordan Tepper is a machine, and he kind of like navigates all the suppliers, and just I was like, dude, like we got like 9 months, and he's like, I know, we only have 9 months, and just to get everything right. So like that's the big thing is like, and I get approached by friends, people often that are say like, hey, I'm interested in doing a cocktail or launching a ready to drink thing, and I'm like, okay, like what do you want to do? And oh, we want to do a custom can. I'm like, you want to do a custom can? Nah, not happening. Maybe one day, not this year. Or like just the timeline is so stretched, like, and that's why we start working now on what we're going to do next fall, next year. And just as someone that is historically more like responsive or in the moment, it's taken me a couple of years just to get used to thinking that far out.
okay.
It's really easy to say like, oh, that's like a year from now, or that's 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. Like, but you kind of got to start working on some of that stuff now. Another thing in like the RTD space is just we've done a couple of projects with kind of white label stuff for friends in the industry in cans, and cans are just challenging, man. The quality of cans out there, and once you start trying to put a cocktail in a can, especially a cocktail that has acid, citrus, it's just it's tough, and it's really hard to do that in a can and make it taste good and have it survive on a shelf, which is I think a big reason all the Host stuff is in a glass bottle, and we're focusing on spirit forward cocktails, just after some hard learnings playing in the other arena there.
Well, and so like again, if somebody's looking for you, where like we can order from your site, correct?
Yep. Hostecocktails.com, HOSTE cocktails.com, and we ship to 40 states now.
All right.
And that's been pretty cool. And we look at the map. It's been a real eye opener for us. You look at the map and see where these bottles are going, and they're going all over the states.
That's
coasts, awesome. Midwest, Southeast, Southwest, like all over. And a lot of people that again, we've done all these interviews. It's a lot of many folks that live outside of major metropolitan areas. Maybe someone that lived in New York but's now moved out to Jersey or upstate, or someone that lived in San Francisco that's now like moved west, or people in that moved to Raleigh, and so it's kind of cool, and it's interesting. I feel like we're like it's a little window into a larger trend, um, about how folks are drinking these days and the types of things they're drinking, and where they're doing it and how they're doing it.
Should we jump on to question 4?
Yeah, man.
All right, what do you want to drink?
Okay, so a buddy of mine, I sent him a bottle of the Gold Fashioned this year. He I've sent people bottles. I do not have a bottle here, and I met him for a cocktail the other night in Raleigh, and he was like, "I got something for you, man. Hey, thank you." And he gave me this bottle of Blackened,
All right.
signed by Metallica.
Fuck yeah.
And which is cool for a couple of reasons. Like my son who's 6, he loves Metallica in a way that's possibly unhealthy. And to the he's 6 years old, and he's like going to my grandmama's house, and he's singing, or his grandma's house, and he's singing "Ride the Lightning" note for note, and she's like, "Hey, I think this is about someone getting electrocuted." I'm like, "I know."
I know
But
it.
when we got our Spotify Wrapped last year, where it tells you like what you listen to, he, and I mean him, because like I love Metallica, but I'm not listening to him often. He was in the top 1% of Metallica listeners in the world.
Wow.
In the fucking world. That's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of Metallica.
Wow.
So Blackened,
at 6
excited to try it.
Like, that's fucking awesome. Like, that is
At 6.
That is hardcore. Like, does he say why, or like just what he likes about him, or?
He loves the energy, man.
Okay.
He likes James Hetfield's vocals.
Okay.
And he loves the guitar solos, and he just loves that it's like heavy.
Okay.
And yeah, I was always, he was into the Ramones for a little while.
Okay.
He listens to what I listen to, but then at one time we were in the car, and I was like, let me just give him a little taste of some heavy stuff, and he was just like
down. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Love it. Well, cheers.
Cheers, man.
But all right. So, question 4. What is next for you guys? Like, what? Again, not looking for industry secrets or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
But like, what's next for you guys? Like,
yep. No, great question. So we got a few big, we call them big rocks on the horizon. One, obviously, the Perfect Manhattan. I think the Gold Fashioned was kind of our litmus test. Like, are folks interested in consuming a very, very nice, ready to pour cocktail at home? The answer, we believe, is yes. We launched the Martini a couple weeks ago. We have a Perfect Manhattan in the pipeline that we're working with Julieta De Campo, another great Chicago bar. I call them a bartender, though that now they are more of a bar director, beverage director. They work for the 50/50 group. Working on a Mezcal Negroni.
oh,
Would like to bring that to life as well. Looking into some low ABV spritz stuff. Basically we want to round out the portfolio. So like if you were hosting, you've got a little something for every guest. Like if I was having people over to my house, I would have, a nice cocktail. I'd have some wine, like something, a range of ABVs for folks that are looking to have different experiences.
amazing.
And we want Hoste to kind of fill all those needs, possibly even the NA. The other one, which is we have not talked about much publicly, but I think it can be public info, is that we are opening a space in the Pilsen neighborhood of Chicago.
Oh, nice.
That will be the Hoste space, and we have a large event gathering hall that'll hold 150 people, and then we have a small. What I'm most excited about, we have a small cocktail bar with 8 seats, and we will have a really cool, very tiny cocktail bar, and I hope that I will get to bartend there.
Nice.
For 8 people at a time.
Is that open or
Not yet. Looking to move our production into the space by the end of the year and have the bar and event space open Q1 of 2024.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're headed. I think, like, again, trying to just ride this wave of like people's of cocktail culture and how it's evolving, because I do think it always is evolving and it continues to evolve. Like, and I was having a talk with one of our partners, Damien, the other day. He does a lot of the marketing and creative, and the cocktail itself was originally a single serving beverage,
Yep.
right? And essentially an old fashioned: booze, bitters, sugar, water. You would probably drink it in the morning before work because life was fucking tough in the late 1800s, and ice. You would maybe have ice, but you might not have ice because your teeth are probably falling out. But I think, like, it up until even 2019, if you and I went to a cocktail bar, you would get a cocktail and I would get a cocktail. We might get the same drink, we might get a different drink though, and then you would say, like, hey, do you want to try my drink? And I don't know, maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. But, like, I do think this idea of, like, Hoste allows a group of people to have a shared cocktail experience, which on the surface level doesn't seem maybe groundbreaking, but I do think it is an evolution of cocktail. Like, if you sit down, if we went to dinner and someone said, hey, what are we drinking? Let's get a bottle.
Yeah.
We're getting a bottle of wine. We're hanging out, and that kind of changes the night for everybody. Like, okay, cool, we're getting a bottle, we're hanging out. Yeah. And now you can do that with a cocktail. You can get a bottle of Gold Fashioned or Martini, and now it just kind of, like, elevates the occasion for folks. And I really want to just kind of keep pushing in that direction to see what happens.
But all right. On to our last and final question. So,
all right, I got something that this is something I genuinely want to try because I haven't had it in a minute. This is Apolog Paw.
Okay.
So Apolog is our liqueur company. Yep. And we focus on, again, unique regional ingredients. And then, we're big on transparency. Everything in the bottle is on the back of the bottle. You know exactly what's in it. Paw is a seasonal release for us. We did not do it this year. Paw is a fruit that grows in people's backyards, often in the Midwest. It's historically called the Indiana banana or the hillbilly mango.
Okay.
It looks terrible. It looks like the worst potato ever. But it tastes like, you open it up and inside it's kind of custardy, and it tastes like a cross between a mango and a banana.
I'm from the Midwest. I've never even heard of this. So,
and we're gonna bring it back next year.
Okay.
We've had a lot of people. It's been, like, very highly requested, and when I was unpacking here, I saw that I had a bottle. So yeah, I just wanted to. I haven't tasted it in a long time. And this is from last year.
All right.
So, Apolog Paw.
All right.
Another great thing about Apolog, we put all the ingredients on the back of the bottle. So, like, also helpful for me. So I can, like, look at this and, okay, cool. We put paw, peach, ginger, Granny Smith, cinnamon, lime pill, bitter orange pill, marshmallow root, like a marshmallow, licorice root, vanilla bean, and a little organic cane sugar. So,
hot damn.
Kind of just a cool, weird one. Great for tiki drinks.
All right. So question 5 comes down to the flip of the Whiskey Wednesday coin. You can flip it. You can spin it. You don't have to answer unless you want to answer. But the coin will give us the look at
that. Sorry. Okay.
You'll have to teach me that. So, all right. So question 5. Do you really consider yourselves an RTD?
Wait, do I flip it?
I mean, again, you can answer, or the coin will give us the answer, and then you can answer. So
Let's flip it and see. Let's flip it and see if we're aligned.
okay,
Let's see if I can get a good. This thing would fuck some stuff up if it hit.
it will. Yeah,
It's a heavy coin. Fuck no.
Fuck no.
I think that's appropriate.
I agree.
Fuck no.
Either way it was, but I agree. You are no way near a fucking RTD. But please elaborate for us.
Yep. I like the term "ready to enjoy" or "ready to pour," and I'm honestly torn between the two. And we talk about that a lot internally. Like, one, want to acknowledge just the power of words and like semantics, and like ready to drink is not super sexy. Like, yeah, no shit, it's ready to drink. It's like in a bottle.
Yeah.
Technically, this is ready to drink too. So we go back and forth. Ready to pour, I think, has some like nice. It has the verb pour, which is like some nice connotations. But ready to enjoy they both feel different. Which one do you like better? I'm curious. We go back and forth constantly. Ready to pour or ready to enjoy?
I like ready to pour.
Ready to pour. Yeah, because like, yep.
Having friends over and being like, oh, what do you want? And then just all I have to do is drop in a cube and be like, pour and mist. Like, you're done. Like, I've been at parties where I'm sitting there shaking or stirring and whatever. And like, I'm missing half the fucking party because I'm too busy making drinks. And this is just, this is a thing, like, we bring friends together really quickly.
Thank you. Well, another interesting thing about ready to pour that just kind of like has dawned on me recently is that it also speaks to like the host. Like, if you are hosting, sometimes getting ready to host people can be stressful, and there's something nice about you personally being ready to pour. Right. Like, it's ready to pour. Like, you don't. It's ready to go.
Robby, thank you so much for joining us. That's 5 drinks down, 5 questions answered. Thank you so much. Again, the next time you're in New York, please look me up because I would love to take you out. So we'll go. I'll show you some of my favorite places. I mean, you've already been to one, but like we'll go some more. So,
oh yeah, I'm gonna give that a fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, and then until we can drink again in person. So, cheers to you, sir.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.